Hi, I'm Jenny Belton. I am a contemporary artist from Dublin. I have been working as a professional artist for probably nearly 3 years, and my art style currently is very much, I would call, semi-abstract. Still life is what I would be focusing on at the moment. I'm obviously going to be changing that up as time goes on. It's always a kind of a situation where still life is what has me, interested at the moment, but I'm sure at some point I might be taken down a different path with it. But I am generally drawn to abstract work. I've always painted, but I suppose I've done a lot of different things job-wise. It took a bit of a career break to look after kids and as they grow up. And during COVID mainly, I decided to just plug all my energy into painting, probably from the mental health perspective, just to kind of get a breather from everything. It's grown from there, but I mean, I suppose I've always been encouraged from a very young age to paint and draw, and I've been surrounded by art my whole life. Growing up, I was really influenced by classical art, pre-Raphaelites and Caravaggio, and really technical, representational and allegorical painting. But over the years I got more interested in contemporary art. I suppose I love Alfie Kane. He's a London artist. I think he trained as an architect. He does a lot of interior scenes and very kind of vibrant colours, interesting compositions. But the thing that draws me in mostly with his work is the colour and the imagination, I suppose, that goes into it, that it's not really representative of reality. It's a kind of a dreamscape. From the still life perspective, I love Natalie Dupasquier. She's the one who probably inspired me. I love her flat perspective, and I love the way she uses kind of almost twee objects sometimes in her work, metric shapes and architecture as well. So, which would be an influence of mine. Other artists are very inspirational, but mostly things I find inspiration from are things, articles from the past, nostalgic items. I just love the colours, old cinema footage, textiles, ceramics. I couldn't say it's any one thing. It's more about a feeling, or the idea of a feeling from the past, and trying to represent that kind of nostalgia in my paintings is quite important. So many things inspire me, and really I can be inspired by something as small as a button on a coat or someone's shoelaces. It's simply usually a question of colour and the way it's formed, but also I like to kind of mess with form. So the ideas of perspective as well. I like taking something from the real world, but also transmuting it and making its perspective wrong, or changing it up, and questioning how maybe you would normally see it. Yeah, that's kind of my approach to it. What I would do is I would take lots of bits and pieces from, I use a lot of references, architectural references, with ceramics, fabric, and I would collage it in a way. But I like to think of the paintings I do as kind of like collages of paint. So I'm kind of piecing things together, and my main motivation is usually colour synchronicity and balance of form and composition. Art, I suppose, for me is a vehicle to express my inner world, and the things that are going on in my head, to release the pressure sometimes. It's very cathartic to paint. I think I realized that when I was going through some issues during COVID, it really helped to get that out, and that's probably why I do it mainly, is from the point of view of keeping my mental health in check. It's really important to me. I mean, art takes up a huge amount of my time and thought processes, so I feel like it's a way of life, and you have to kind of inhabit it if you want it to work. And my favourite artwork, so of all time, I would say Hieronymus Bosch's Garden of Earthly Delights, I think it's called. And it's just really interesting painting because there's so much going on, and that's what I love about paintings that draw you in. There's a story behind them, and there's so much symbolism in his work as well. So I'm really interested in symbolism. I love tarot. I love just things that represent maybe a time, an era. His works are very religious themed, and I'm not really into religion, but I find it very interesting, and they're controversial in a way, and his work is very controversial and different to the other artists he was around at the time. So I love that particular painting because there's so many different compartments to it, and there's so much going on, and that you can really get lost in it. I'm very ad hoc, and I like to kind of approach things just in the very, I just go into things. I plan to a certain degree, but I feel like over planning for me doesn't work. And if I over plan, then I feel like it's too formulaic, and I prefer to maybe have a central idea, a central focus point, and then work around that. And so if I have that figured out, usually everything else springs from that. You know, the main thing is to achieve balance, and color balance as well is really important to me too. The main thing with art is, I think you have to come to terms with that it is personal sacrifice, because usually the energy you put into it takes something out of you, so you kind of have to come to terms with that. But it's also meditative. It's very important to me personally. Other people have other ways of dealing with their issues, and people use exercise, I use art. So for me, it's a question of, it's absolutely integral to my own identity, I suppose. I feel like the showing people your art requires a huge amount of courage, and it's not in everybody to want to do it, but I think it's a good exercise to force yourself to do it, because I think if you don't get past that, then you can't really be an artist. So I have a show coming up. It's on from the 5th of March for 2 weeks, I believe, in Gormley's, South Frederick Street.